In the vast, uncharted reaches of deep space, where humanity's thirst for discovery knows no bounds, a research vessel drifts silently among the stars. But beneath its sleek metallic hull lies a sinister secret. Something is watching, waiting, and manipulating from within. As paranoia grips the crew, trust erodes into suspicion, and every shadow becomes a potential enemy. The truth will unravel in ways no one could have imagined. Who can be trusted when even the walls seem alive with betrayal? Stay tuned to uncover the chilling mystery that threatens not just their mission but the survival of humanity itself. Subscribe now to ensure you don't miss a single moment of this gripping sci-fi thriller. The research vessel, Eos Horizon, floated in the endless void, its sleek exterior reflecting the distant light of a dying star. It was humanity's pride, a marvel of engineering designed to explore the farthest reaches of known space. On board, 12 scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, driven by the promise of unlocking the universe's deepest secrets. Yet, despite the hum of machinery and the glow of monitors, unease had begun to seep into the corridors like a slow-moving fog. At first, it was small things, tools misplaced, data logs altered without explanation, whispers of movement in empty halls. No one dared speak of it openly, but the tension grew palpable. Captain Elias Voss, a seasoned leader with years of experience navigating both space and human nature, noticed the change immediately. His sharp eyes scanned the faces of his crew during briefings, searching for cracks in their professionalism. He found none, yet the feeling persisted. Something was wrong. Deep within the bowels of the ship, nestled between storage compartments and maintenance tunnels, lay a section rarely visited by anyone except engineers conducting routine checks. Here, the air felt heavier, colder, as though the life support system struggled to reach this isolated corner. It was here that Dr. Lila Marquez, the ship's xenobiologist, discovered the first tangible clue. She had been running diagnostics on a series of environmental sensors when she stumbled upon irregularities in the readings. Temperature fluctuations, pressure changes, and traces of unknown particulate matter, all confined to this obscure part of the vessel. Her heart raced as she cross-referenced the data against previous scans. Nothing matched. Whatever was causing these anomalies wasn't natural or human-made. As word of her findings spread cautiously through the crew, murmurs of concern turned into outright fear. Speculation ran rampant. Was it sabotage? A malfunction? Or something far more insidious? The crew began to question everything around them, their equipment, their colleagues, even themselves. Trust, once strong and unwavering, started to crumble under the weight of uncertainty. Captain Voss called an emergency meeting in the central hub, where holographic displays flickered above a circular table. He addressed the team with calm authority, urging them to remain focused and rational. But his reassurances fell flat. Eyes darted nervously across the room, and hands twitched as if itching to point fingers. The seeds of paranoia had taken root, and they were spreading fast. The following days saw a marked shift in the behavior of the crew. Conversations became guarded, smiles forced, and camaraderie replaced by wary nods. Every interaction carried an undertone of suspicion, as though each person suspected the other of hiding something. Even mundane tasks took on new significance. A dropped wrench might be dismissed as clumsiness or interpreted as deliberate distraction. A late arrival to a meeting could mean oversleeping or plotting behind closed doors. The psychological toll was undeniable, manifesting in sleepless nights, snapped tempers, and growing isolation. Dr. Marquez continued her investigation, poring over data late into the night. Her quarters, cluttered with tablets and printouts, resembled a chaotic war room. She traced patterns in the anomalies, noting how they seemed to move not randomly, but with purpose. It was as if something intelligent guided them, probing the ship's systems for weaknesses. Her mind raced with possibilities, none of which brought comfort. Could it be an alien entity, hitchhiking aboard the Eos Horizon undetected? Or perhaps a rogue AI fragment, birthed from some forgotten experiment? Whatever it wasn't content to remain hidden anymore. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Ravi Patel conducted his own inquiries. Known for his meticulous attention to detail, he scrutinized every inch of the ship's infrastructure, searching for signs of tampering. What he found chilled him to the core. Tiny fractures marred the hull in places no impact should have reached. Wiring conduits bore faint scorch marks, evidence of electrical surges that hadn't registered in the system logs. Most alarming of all were the faint etchings carved into metal surfaces, symbols unlike any language he'd encountered before. They pulsed faintly under certain light conditions, almost imperceptible unless you knew what to look for. Patel documented everything meticulously, sharing his findings only with Captain Voss. Together, they pieced together a grim picture. Someone, or something, was actively working against them. Captain Voss convened another meeting, this time with only a select few members of the crew. Among them were Dr. Marquez, Engineer Patel, and Lieutenant Sarah Chun, the ship's security officer. The atmosphere in the briefing room was tense, charged with unspoken accusations. Voss laid out the evidence gathered so far: the environmental anomalies, the structural damage, the mysterious symbols. Each revelation drew sharp intakes of breath, followed by uneasy silence. When he suggested the possibility of a saboteur among them, the room erupted into chaos. Voices rose, tempers flared, and alliances shifted unpredictably. Lieutenant Shin stepped forward, her voice cutting through the din like a blade. "If there's a traitor on board," she said firmly, "we need to identify them before it's too late." Her words hung heavy in the air, a stark reminder of the stakes involved. The crew nodded reluctantly, though doubt lingered in their eyes. Who could they trust when everyone seemed guilty? Over the next several hours, Chin implemented strict protocols to monitor activity throughout the ship. Surveillance cameras, previously used sparingly to respect privacy, now operated continuously. Access logs were reviewed daily, cross-referenced with personnel movements. Even personal devices were subjected to scrutiny, much to the chagrin of those who valued their autonomy. Despite these measures, no definitive proof emerged. The saboteur, if indeed that was what they faced, remained elusive, slipping through their grasp like smoke. Days stretched into weeks, and the strain on the crew became unbearable. Tempers frayed further, arguments erupted over trivial matters, and productivity plummeted. Sleep deprivation and stress-induced hallucinations compounded the problem, making it nearly impossible to distinguish reality from paranoia. Some crew members began avoiding others altogether, retreating to their quarters or secluded areas of the ship. Morale hit rock bottom, leaving Captain Voss grappling with the daunting task of holding his team together. Dr. Marquez, however, refused to give up. Obsessed with uncovering the truth, she delved deeper into her research, pushing herself to the brink of exhaustion. Late one night, while analyzing a particularly perplexing set of readings, she made a breakthrough. Hidden within the anomalies was a repeating signal, a faint, rhythmic pulse that mimicked biological processes. It wasn't random noise, it was communication. Someone, or something, was trying to send a message. Her discovery reignited hope among the crew, albeit cautiously. If they could decode the signal, they might finally understand the nature of the threat. Working alongside Patel, Marquez devised a plan to amplify the signal using the ship's communication array. It was risky, potentially drawing unwanted attention from whatever lurked outside, or inside, their vessel. But with options dwindling, they decided to proceed. As the signal strengthened, strange phenomena began occurring throughout the ship. Lights flickered erratically. Gravity fluctuated, and eerie whispers echoed through the corridors. Fear gripped the crew anew, but curiosity drove them onward. The amplified signal revealed fragments of information, cryptic phrases, distorted images, and coordinates pointing to a distant star system. Dr. Marquez theorized that the source originated from beyond their current location, possibly tied to an advanced civilization. However, the implications were troubling. Why would such a civilization target the EO's horizon dash, and what did they hope to achieve? The crew debated possible motives, ranging from scientific curiosity to hostile intent. None of the theories offered solace. Amidst the mounting tension, Lieutenant Chin tightened security measures even further. Armed patrols roamed the ship, monitoring for any suspicious activity. Personal freedoms were curtailed, leading to resentment among the crew. Accusations flew freely, straining relationships to the breaking point. Amid this turmoil, Captain Voss maintained a stoic facade, though privately he wrestled with doubts about his leadership. Had he failed his crew by not acting sooner? Could he still salvage the mission? or at least ensure their survival. One evening, as the crew gathered in the mess hall for a rare communal meal, disaster struck. An explosion rocked the ship, sending everyone sprawling to the floor. Alarms blared deafeningly, and emergency lights bathed the scene in harsh red hues. Smoke filled the air, choking lungs and obscuring vision. Panic ensued as people scrambled to assess the damage. Initial reports indicated that the blast occurred near the engine room, compromising critical systems. Without immediate action, the EOS Horizon risked drifting powerless into the void. The explosion in the engine room left the crew reeling, both physically and emotionally. The damage was extensive, critical systems were offline, life support wavered precariously, and the ship's trajectory began to drift uncontrollably. Chief Engineer Patel led a team of technicians into the chaos, their faces grim beneath the glare of emergency lights. Smoke curled around their boots as they worked frantically to stabilize the situation. Every second counted, every delay brought them closer to catastrophe. Yet, amidst the urgency, suspicion lingered like a shadow over their efforts. Who could have sabotaged such a vital area? Was it an accident, or was this another calculated move by the unseen enemy? Dr. Marquez, though not trained in engineering, refused to remain idle. She assisted where she could, handing tools and relaying information between teams. Her mind raced with possibilities, connecting dots that others might overlook. The repeating signal she had decoded earlier still haunted her thoughts. Could it have been a trigger for the explosion? Or perhaps a warning they failed to heed in time? As she moved through the chaotic corridors, she noticed something peculiar, faint traces of the same unknown symbols etched into the walls near the blast site. They seemed fresher here, almost glowing under the dim light. It was as if the saboteur, or whatever controlled the sabotage, was taunting them, leaving breadcrumbs to lead them deeper into the mystery. Captain Voss coordinated efforts from the bridge, his voice steady despite the turmoil. He issued commands with precision, ensuring resources were allocated efficiently and priorities remained clear. But even he couldn't ignore the growing sense of unease. His gaze flickered to the surveillance feeds displayed on the main screen, searching for any sign of irregular behavior among the crew. Everyone appeared focused on the task at hand, yet trust was a fragile thing now. One wrong move, one misplaced glance, and paranoia would erupt once more. As hours passed, the engineers managed to restore partial power, stabilizing life support just enough to buy them time. The immediate crisis was averted, but the underlying threat remained unresolved. The crew gathered in the central hub for an impromptu debriefing, their expressions weary yet determined. Captain Voss addressed them with measured calm, emphasizing the need for unity in the face of adversity. "We've survived worse," he said, though privately he wasn't sure if that was true. This wasn't just about fixing a broken ship. It was about confronting something far more insidious, something that tested not only their skills, but their humanity. In the aftermath of the explosion, the crew of the EOS Horizon found themselves facing a new reality. The ship's systems were compromised, forcing them to rely on manual overrides and improvised solutions. Basic tasks became Herculean challenges, requiring constant vigilance and teamwork. Yet, despite the shared struggle, divisions within the group deepened. Accusations flew freely, fueled by fatigue and fear. Some pointed fingers at Dr. Marquez, questioning whether her experiments with the mysterious signal had inadvertently triggered the blast. Others eyed Engineer Patel suspiciously, noting how often he lingered near critical systems. Even Lieutenant Chun, tasked with maintaining order, faced whispers of bias in her investigations. Amidst the discord, Dr. Marquez doubled down on her research. She believed the key to understanding the saboteur lay in deciphering the cryptic symbols scattered throughout the ship. Using advanced imaging software, she analyzed their patterns, searching for meaning beyond their alien appearance. What she discovered sent a chill down her spine. The symbols weren't static, they shifted subtly over time, adapting to changes in the ship's environment. It was as if they responded to external stimuli, evolving in real time. Could they be part of some larger mechanism, a living code embedded within the vessel itself? The implications were staggering. If true, then the saboteur wasn't merely human, or even biological. It was something far more complex, capable of infiltrating and manipulating technology at a fundamental level. Lieutenant Chun, meanwhile, intensified her security protocols. Armed guards patrolled the corridors around the clock, their presence meant to reassure, but instead adding to the oppressive atmosphere. Surveillance footage was reviewed frame by frame, searching for anomalies that might reveal the saboteur's identity. Yet, no matter how thoroughly they searched, nothing concrete emerged. The saboteur remained a ghost, slipping through their grasp with infuriating ease. Frustration mounted, leading to heated arguments during strategy meetings. Voices rose, tempers flared, and alliances fractured under the weight of uncertainty. Captain Voss watched it all unfold with growing concern. He knew morale was critical to their survival, yet despair gnawed at the edges of his resolve. How could he lead a crew divided against itself? How could they overcome an enemy they couldn't see or understand? For now, he focused on small victories, repairing damaged systems, rationing supplies, and keeping panic at bay. But the question loomed large in his mind. How long could they hold out before the saboteur struck again? Days turned into weeks, and the strain on the crew reached a breaking point. Exhaustion etched lines into their faces, and the once bustling corridors of the EOS horizon grew eerily quiet. Conversations dwindled to terse exchanges, and meals were eaten alone in cramped quarters. The camaraderie that had once defined the mission was gone, replaced by a suffocating cloud of mistrust. Captain Voss tried to rally his team, organizing group activities and encouraging open dialogue. Yet, his efforts fell flat. Eyes darted nervously across the room, and hands twitched as if ready to accuse. The psychological toll was undeniable, manifesting in sleepless nights, vivid nightmares, and irrational fears. Dr. Marquez, however, refused to succumb to despair. Her obsession with the symbols drove her forward, pushing her to explore uncharted territory in xenobiology. She hypothesized that the symbols represented a form of communication, a language unlike anything humanity had encountered before. To test her theory, she developed a rudimentary algorithm designed to translate the shifting patterns into coherent data. The process was painstaking, requiring countless iterations and adjustments. But slowly, fragments of meaning began to emerge. Phrases formed, disjointed yet tantalizing. References to harvesting, adaptation, and integration hinted at a sinister purpose. Whatever entity controlled the symbols viewed the crew not as individuals but as resources to be exploited. Engineer Patel, meanwhile, made a startling discovery while inspecting the ship's hull. Tiny perforations dotted the surface, invisible to the naked eye but detectable under high-resolution scans. They resembled bite marks, though impossibly precise, as if made by a machine rather than an organism. Worse still, the perforations seemed to spread outward, branching like roots through the metal. Patel theorized that the ship itself was being consumed slowly, methodically, from the inside out. The realization sent shockwaves through the crew, further eroding what little hope remained. Lieutenant Chen tightened security measures even further, implementing biometric scans and restricted access zones. Yet, her efforts felt futile. The saboteur, or whatever it was, seemed to anticipate their every move, staying one step ahead. Desperation crept into her demeanor, a crack in her otherwise stoic facade. She confided in Captain Voss late one night, admitting that she doubted her ability to protect the crew. "We're fighting something we can't see," she said, her voice trembling. "How do you stop an enemy when you don't even know what it wants?" The mounting pressure took its toll on everyone, but none more so than Lieutenant Chen. Once the epitome of discipline and control, she now struggled to maintain composure. Dark circles ringed her eyes, and her movements carried an edge of nervous energy. Her patrols became erratic, her decisions increasingly impulsive. During one particularly tense encounter, she confronted Dr. Marquez in the lab, accusing her of withholding crucial information. "You've been chasing these symbols for days," Chen snapped, slamming a tablet onto the desk. "What aren't you telling us?" Marquez, startled but composed, calmly explained her findings, emphasizing the importance of patience and thorough analysis. Chen listened reluctantly, her skepticism evident, but ultimately backed down. Still, the incident left a sour taste in the air, further straining their already fragile relationship. Captain Voss intervened, calling a private meeting with Chen to address her deteriorating state. He acknowledged the immense burden she carried and offered support, urging her to delegate responsibilities where possible. But Chin resisted, unwilling to relinquish control. "If I let my guard down for even a moment," she argued, "we're dead." Her words carried a chilling certainty, a reflection of the paranoia gripping the entire crew. Meanwhile, Dr. Marquez continued her work, driven by a mix of determination and desperation. Her translation algorithm yielded new insights, revealing references to a host and symbiosis. The phrases suggested that the entity behind the sabotage sought not destruction but integration, a merging of human and alien consciousness. The implications were horrifying. Were they being prepared for assimilation, their minds and bodies repurposed for some alien agenda? Marquez shared her findings cautiously, knowing the potential impact on morale. When she finally presented her conclusions to Captain Voss, his expression hardened. "If this is true," he said gravely, "then we're dealing with something far beyond our understanding." The revelation that the saboteur might not be a person but an alien entity seeking integration sent shockwaves through the crew. The concept was as terrifying as it was incomprehensible. Dr. Marquez's discovery suggested that the symbols were part of a larger, self-sustaining mechanism, an invasive network slowly spreading throughout the ship. It wasn't just sabotaging systems, it was assimilating them, rewriting their very structure to serve its purpose. The implications were staggering. If the entity succeeded, the EO's horizon itself would become a living extension of something alien, something unknowable. Captain Voss convened another emergency meeting, this time with the entire crew in attendance. He laid out the facts bluntly, refusing to sugarcoat the grim reality they faced. "We're dealing with something beyond human comprehension," he said, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "It's not here to destroy us, it's here to take us over." The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. I started nervously, searching for reassurance or answers, but none came. Instead, a new wave of paranoia swept through the group. If the entity could infiltrate the ship's systems, how could anyone be sure it hadn't already infiltrated their minds? Lieutenant Chin responded by tightening security measures even further, implementing mandatory psychological evaluations and round-the-clock monitoring. Her actions were met with resistance, especially from those who felt their privacy had already been violated. Arguments erupted, tempers flared, and accusations flew freely. Some accused Chin of overstepping her authority, while others defended her as the only one willing to face the harsh truths head-on. Amidst the chaos, Captain Voss struggled to maintain order, his leadership tested like never before. Dr. Marquez, meanwhile, worked tirelessly to find a way to counteract the entity's influence. She theorized that disrupting the signal embedded within the symbols could sever its connection to the ship's systems. But doing so required accessing the core of the network, a task fraught with danger. The central hub, where the signal appeared strongest, was located deep within the most damaged section of the vessel. Radiation levels there were dangerously high, and structural integrity was questionable at best. Yet, without intervention, the entity would continue its relentless advance, leaving the crew with no choice but to act. The mission to access the central hub became the crew's last hope. A small team, led by Lieutenant Chin and including Dr. Marquez and Engineer Patel, volunteered, or, in some cases, were ordered to undertake the perilous journey. Armed with radiation suits and portable shielding devices, they navigated the treacherous corridors, their every step accompanied by the ominous groan of stressed metal. The air was thick with tension, each breath labored behind their masks. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound amplified into a potential threat. As they approached the hub, the symbols on the walls grew more pronounced, pulsing with an eerie luminescence. They seemed almost sentient, shifting and rearranging themselves as if aware of the intruder's presence. Dr. Marquez studied them intently, her mind racing to decipher their meaning. She noticed patterns emerging, sequences that repeated at regular intervals, suggesting a form of communication. Could they use these patterns to disrupt the signal? The idea was risky, but with time running out, it was their only option. Inside the hub, the team discovered a bizarre amalgamation of technology and organic matter. Alien tendrils snaked through the machinery, fusing with wires and circuits in grotesque harmony. In the center of the chamber, a pulsating core emitted waves of energy, bathing the room in an otherworldly glow. It was both beautiful and horrifying, a testament to the ingenuity of an intelligence far beyond human understanding. Engineer Patel examined the core cautiously, his hands trembling as he scanned its surface. "This isn't just a program," he murmured. "It's alive." Lieutenant Chin wasted no time, setting up equipment to create a feedback loop designed to overload the core. Dr. Marquez worked alongside her, inputting sequences derived from the symbols. The process was delicate, requiring absolute precision. One wrong move could trigger a catastrophic failure, destroying the ship and everyone on board. As they worked, the entity reacted violently, causing lights to flicker and gravity to fluctuate wildly. The team braced themselves against the chaos, their resolve tested with every passing second. The feedback loop began to take effect, sending ripples through the alien network. The symbols on the walls dimmed, their glow fading as the entity's grip weakened. For a brief moment, hope surged among the team. Perhaps they could succeed after all. But then, the core retaliated, unleashing a surge of energy that knocked them off their feet. Alarms blared deafeningly, and the temperature plummeted, freezing condensation on every surface. The entity wasn't going down without a fight. Lieutenant Chen shouted orders, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to stabilize the feedback," she yelled, her hands flying across the controls. Engineer Patel scrambled to recalibrate the equipment, his movements frantic yet precise. Dr. Marquez, clutching a tablet displaying the symbol sequences, called out adjustments, her voice steady despite the turmoil. Together, they fought back against the entity's assault, their teamwork a beacon of resilience amidst the storm. Outside the hub, Captain Voss monitored their progress anxiously. Communication was spotty, distorted by interference from the entity's signal. Fragments of static-filled transmissions reached him, offering glimpses of the battle unfolding below. He clenched his fists tightly, torn between staying put and rushing to aid his crew. Ultimately, he trusted their abilities, knowing that interfering now could jeopardize everything. Instead, he focused on coordinating support efforts, ensuring escape routes were clear and medical teams stood ready. Back in the hub, the situation grew dire. The core's energy output spiked unpredictably, threatening to overwhelm their defenses. Lieutenant Chun made a split-second decision, rerouting power from auxiliary systems to reinforce the feedback loop. The sacrifice left parts of the ship in darkness, but it bought them precious seconds. With one final adjustment, Dr. Marquez triggered the sequence, sending a cascade of disruptive signals through the network. The core shuddered violently, its glow dimming until it finally sputtered and died. Silence fell over the hub, broken only by the ragged breathing of the exhausted team. The alien tendrils retracted, retreating into the shadows as the entity's influence waned. For the first time in weeks, the ship felt still, not eerily quiet, but genuinely calm. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a fragile sense of relief. Dr. Marquez sank to her knees, tears streaming down her face as the enormity of what they'd accomplished hit her. Engineer Patel leaned against a wall, his body trembling with exhaustion. Lieutenant Chun remained standing, though barely, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of lingering danger. When they returned to the main deck, the rest of the crew greeted them with a mix of awe and disbelief. Word of their success spread quickly, sparking cautious celebrations. Captain Voss addressed the group, his voice filled with pride and gratitude. "Today, we faced an enemy unlike any other," he said, "and together we triumphed. This victory belongs to all of us." His words brought cheers, but beneath the surface, wounds remained. Trust had been shattered, friendships strained, and scars, both physical and emotional, would take time to heal. In the days that followed, the crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage caused by the entity. Life support systems stabilized, critical functions were restored, and the ship's trajectory was corrected. Yet, questions lingered. Where had the entity come from? What was its ultimate goal? And most importantly, had they truly eradicated it, or merely driven it into hiding? Dr. Marquez dedicated herself to answering these mysteries, analyzing data collected during the mission. Her findings hinted at a vast, interconnected web spanning multiple star systems, suggesting that the EOS horizon had been just one node in a much larger network. As the EOS horizon limped toward a nearby space station for repairs, the crew reflected on their ordeal. Conversations resumed cautiously, bonds rebuilt piece by piece. Shared trauma had a way of forging connections, however tenuous. Captain Voss encouraged open dialogue, hosting informal gatherings where people could share their thoughts and fears. Slowly, trust began to return, though it would never be the same as before. Dr. Marquez presented her final report to the captain, detailing her analysis of the alien entity. She concluded that it was likely a fragment of a larger consciousness, capable of infiltrating and assimilating advanced technology. Its purpose remained unclear, but its methods suggested a predatory intelligence, always seeking new hosts to expand its reach. The implications were sobering. Humanity's exploration of space carried risks far greater than anyone had anticipated. Before docking at the space station, Captain Voss recorded a log entry, documenting the events aboard the EOS Horizon Dash. His tone was somber yet resolute. "We underestimated the universe," he admitted. "But we've learned from our mistakes. Whatever lies ahead, we'll face it together." Upon arrival, the crew received a hero's welcome, their story spreading across galactic news networks. Scientists and military officials clamored for interviews, eager to learn from their experience. Yet, for the crew, the accolades meant little. They had survived, yes, but the cost had been high. Months later, the crew of the EOS Horizon went their separate ways, carrying the weight of their shared experience. Some returned to Earth, seeking solace in familiar surroundings. Others continued exploring the stars, driven by a renewed sense of purpose. Captain Voss retired from active duty, dedicating himself to mentoring future generations of explorers. Dr. Marquez published groundbreaking research on xenobiology, inspiring countless scientists to delve deeper into the mysteries of the cosmos. Yet, for all their achievements, one question haunted them. Had they truly defeated the entity or merely delayed its plans? Reports of strange phenomena aboard other vessels began surfacing, raising suspicions that the alien consciousness had resurfaced elsewhere. The universe, vast and unknowable, held secrets yet to be uncovered. As the tale of the EOS Horizon faded into legend, its legacy endured, a reminder of humanity's resilience in the face of unimaginable odds. If you're inspired by stories of courage, discovery, and survival, subscribe to our channel for more thrilling adventures among the stars.